welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is, I think, Monday, Blizzard Day in the Rib. Hello,
The
everybody.
blizzard of 2026.
The greatest blizzard in history now, in recorded
That's
history.
right.
We have reached it. Yep, 32.5 inches, and it's still coming at TF Green Airport. So it is officially the worst blizzard since they've been keeping records. So I'm glad to see. So everybody's around. At least you can't go out anyway and forget the show. Everybody's stuck in the house. So
yeah, and if you're out driving and you're not a essential employee, Dunkin' Donuts isn't essential. Make that clear. Dunkin' Donuts is not essential. Neither
Dunkin'
is
Donuts is
Cosmopolitan.
essential.
Cosmopolitan is not essential. But Will Flanagan had to open it.
Well,
so if you get caught driving, it is a $500 fine. $500.
Wow. And didn't the Cabbage Patch governor declare something in the last couple? I saw some kind of alert on my phone, but I didn't read it because it was about her. Didn't she declare what did she declare? A state emergency?
Yeah, she declared a state emergency. You know, this is what gets me about the Democrats. The Democrats voted to defund DHS.
Yep.
Because of ICE. Well, DHS is also FEMA. So what does Jack Reed do? He files a petition to have Rhode Island declared a federal disaster area to qualify for FEMA money. I called him an asshat. I said, hey, asshat, you Democrats didn't fund DHS. It's amazing how you forget everything until you need something.
Political amnesia. Stevie started us off on a good one. Good joke. What do you call two idiots in a blizzard? Numb and numb. And numb. Pretty good. No, I didn't think it was going to be as bad at the beginning either. Everybody said it wasn't going to be. And I was looking at an interesting stat this morning on one of the news, I think Channel 10. The meteorologist up there said that, the blizzard of 78 lasted 2.5 days. So actually, this was not only bigger, but it was worse. The snow came down at even a higher rate than it did in 78.
Right.
I had a plow truck, quote unquote, stuck on my street. They had to get out and shovel because I guess the snow was piled so deep they could. This is the problem. This is a horrendous storm. I mean, the largest in history, obviously. You can't use a pickup truck to push this kind of volume of snow. They've called in the National Guard. The National Guard's coming. If we were a Republican state, you might call Donald and ask him for the Army Corps of Engineers to come down. But we need a lot of help. Paul was on TV, though. He got on channel, I believe it was 12. They were showing all the different mayors, and he had glasses on now. He's got glasses on. I guess now that he's attempting to look in, like he's an academic. He's intelligent with the glasses, but it failed. I'm telling him, Paul, it failed. You don't look any smarter. I'm sorry. Oh, God, Stevie, you've been in a house too long. You're locked in a house. Jim, hi. So I guess I hope everybody stayed safe. Be careful. It's horrible out there. I got over 6-foot drifts in my backyard. I got a 6-foot fence around the back. It's it's as high as the fence in one corner of the yard. So it's horrific out there. I had to go out the basement because the front steps I would have to shovel like drifts to the backyard to get the dog out. So I had to go out the back door and shovel, and I shoveled a little spot and went back there about 3 hours later, and the thing was all covered up again. It's a mess. It's going to be horrible to get your own area cleared up. If you got a car on the street, you can't see it anymore. If you got Supposedly, like I said, only tomorrow is only restricted to essential personnel. And I don't know, CJ. Some people would debate you about the Dunkin' Donuts being essential. If you're a Dunkin' Donuts courier or something, I don't know. But
Dunkin' Donuts is not essential. Police is essential. Fire is essential. EMS is essential. Dispatchers are essential. Nurses are essential. Doctors are essentials. PCAs are essential. Dunkin' Donuts is not essential. Burger King is not essential. McDonald's is not essential.
wow, it was like you were a fortune teller, CJ. When I was reading the flush, and you just talked about Jack Reed, who's a total dork, just like Sheldon.
He's an
Uh,
asshat.
yeah, asking for something, and then he defunded him just to be an idiot because they didn't defund actually ICE. Let me read everybody's.
You're right, James. CPA needs to be repealed.
Look, Kadeem supports anything because remember, Kadeem wants to get his hands on the CPA funds too. Because Kadeem will now try to eliminate the committee that made it and give him the authority. Kadeem wants to get his hands on all the money in the city, and he doesn't care what it does on the tax rate. But I think your opening statement, it was really applicable to Jack Reed. And it says, I have embraced crying mothers who have lost their children because our politicians put their personal agendas before the national good. I have no patience for injustice, no tolerance for government incompetence, no sympathy for leaders who fail their citizens. Donald Trump. How's that one, huh, CJ? Good one, CJ. Good one. Karnak the Magnificent. You really hit it out of the park with that. Talk about a quote that's applicable.
And the writer of that quote, very controversial.
Yeah. Well, but he's right.
Yeah.
And your closing quote was great today because of all this idiot things. It's that the only foes that threaten America are the enemies at home, and these are ignorance, superstition, and incompetence. And that basically is all our Democratic politicians. That sums up most of the Democrat. And, a wise man once said many, many years ago that America would be destroyed from within. And, no foreign power would ever destroy America. We would destroy ourselves. And if you leave, these lunatic Democrats are making every attempt to do it. Yeah, it is nuts out there. I think it's going to take me longer to shovel my way to where I have my snowblower stored. I think it might take me all day tomorrow just to get to that thing because it's like I got the drifts are 4 or 5 feet out there, and it's crazy. I mean, and it just and it's a short month, and a lot of people have to do business at the end of the month, and it's going to be very difficult. And Paul with his glasses, and like I said, they didn't make him look more intelligent. You're still a vice principal, and not a good one at that. Didn't make you look any smarter. Actually, I think it actually had the reverse. You look more like Urkel. But yeah, it's. I mean, and that's the other thing. They want to crap all over the president. Now they're all going to be whining about they want federal funding because of a natural disaster. Yeah, and he's got that, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of sympathy. Fatima, I think the answer to that question is not much. Not much. I saw Urkel this morning. I didn't hear him announcing anything pre-Blizzard. about shelters for people like they did in Providence and warming centers and stuff like that. Paul was nowhere to be found except this morning. And now the Cabbage Patch governor is talking about a state of emergency. I don't know of any of our politicians that talked about warming shelters and things like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, these trucks are too small. CJ was up in Minnesota for a while. They don't use little pickup trucks to plow snow up there, do they, CJ? They use big, giant trucks.
They use snow removal.
That's
they
right.
Get rid
they
of
have
it.
Snow removal. And in 78, the city actually had actual snow removal. They had big, giant trucks with big, giant plows that could move a lot of snow. And it took us 3 or 4 days to move it then. If we don't get any help now, how do you think? Well, look, unfortunately, Coogan's a moron. Like I said, the homeless, the people who need shelter. Look, you just had 2 people die in their cars that were homeless, that were living in their car not that long ago.
It's funny. It's funny you should say that because somebody posted on social media that they're homeless and they live out of their car and they have to move their car around because the city keeps wanting to tow it and tag it. And they're trying to get gas just to stay warm. But they can't drive their car because if they do, they'll get a $500 fine. But if they don't get the gas, they're going to die in their car. And the city doesn't offer them anything.
Yeah, and Sue Cody just said, yeah, we did. We had front end loaders. We had a whole bunch of under Frank Manning and other DCM people. We had all, but in their infinite wisdom, they can raise our taxes and eliminate our service. They got rid of it. Just like they got rid of trash pickup. Well, trash pickup, we're going to go private. Every time they go private, it ends up in the long run more ineffective and far more expensive. These people don't give a shit about the taxpayer, ever.
Which it did.
Yeah, well, everything should have been happened long before today. Coogan should have been like Brett Smiley. As much as I dislike that yo-yo, but in a way
that was nice of you.
Yeah, the way they handled Brown, the Brown shootings was a catastrophe. Everybody involved. But the reality is that he was on there talking about warming shelters, and Governor Key was out there talking about everything they're going to do. And what press conference did we have in Paulie? Paulie was on with his Urkel glasses this morning, going, "Oh, this is going to take a while." Okay. Yep. Yeah, this is a really bad one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Duh. Yeah. That. Yeah. How's he handling it? Terribly. But I can tell you, the people at DCM are working their ass off. They had a truck. Josh helped shovel a DCM truck. I had a truck on my street stuck there. Two guys jumped out of the cab. They were shoveling their way out. This is a catastrophic storm. Pickup trucks aren't going to cut the mustard.
That's true, Jimmy. You're right.
It was
in the confines of his home. He gave that interview from his home. Now, I don't know which home it was. I don't know if it was on Oak Grove Avenue or where it was, but it was from the confines of his home.
No, that's a very, very important point, Michelle. People, don't forget. Don't forget your vents. If you have any exterior vents, like gas, etc., you got to make sure that those things are clear, because the carbon monoxide will kill you. Yeah, I think they outlawed chains. And in my day, we could put chains on and we could get through anything basically. With the weight of the engines and the chains, we could get through anything. But yeah, this is a very dangerous thing. Yeah, they always wait till, but they're doing the best they can. I know the guys at DCM. The truck was stuck. They were trying to plow. I know, and they don't have a lot of equipment. That's the other thing. As Sue said, uh, we had front end loaders. We had heavy equipment for big storms, but they went, we don't need this. We're only in New England. Yeah, the poor planning. Yeah. Yeah, Coogan was around in a blizzard of '78. He's old enough to be around in a blizzard of '78. He was probably in his school high-fiving people. Yeah, that was a real great. That was a real, it was a great victory over those hockey pucks from Canada who have been disrespecting the United States and now trying to cozy up to China. I'm glad, and it was even better. I advise anybody that didn't see the interview, see the interview with the both our women's team and our men's team won gold medals, which was unprecedented. But when a men's team won in overtime yesterday, or day before yesterday, I'm already losing track of days. I don't know, but because I watched it again on tape, I taped the game. But he was talking about how proud he was. The team was together, and how proud he was to be an American, and how proud he was that they won for the country and everything else. And he's not going to get a lot of traction. You're not going to see that interview on ABC, NBC, all these other outlets, because you know what? It's pro America. Who did they give all the traction to? We had another female win a gold medal in one of the alpine events. Didn't see much of her. But the American who was born in America, educated in America, got all their money in America, that skied for Red China, wall-to-wall coverage. She's on every magazine and everything else, talking about how bad America was. Skating for Red China that shoots people if they demonstrate, kills Uyghurs, incarcerates them, harvests people's organs after they execute them. And this is your mainstream media. Now, you're right. They only got 14 trucks. I don't know how many other people signed up. Yeah. And it was a great victory. And
I have to jump in here. Gabe Amo, that asshat, Democratic asshat from Rhode Island?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's calling for FEMA to fund everything. So, of course, some ass, namely me, said, hey, you Democratic asshat, you voted to defund DHS, which included FEMA. Now you want FEMA to help. Put your money where your mouth is and fund DHS. Political amnesia.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but they all hate America. They want to destroy it, but they're always looking for a handout when they have an emergency. All of the states are looking. All the states they're always looking for America. Like I said, that goo is goo to me, but she got all kinds of press. And as she was with the red Chinese flag behind her when she won, but she's not moving to Red China, because if she says the wrong thing, they'll stick her ass in a gulag and harvest her organs. Yeah, it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
What's really sad? People have got their heads up their ass. Okay? Is Dunkin' Donuts is open? Is the Chinese restaurant open? Is Burger King open? Is McDonald's open? Didn't you know a snowstorm was coming? Didn't you get your freaking bread and milk? I opened my weekend flush with, do you get your bread and milk?
Yep.
You had
Very-
until
very
9
good
o'clock
flush, too.
Sunday to get some groceries.
The only thing, yeah, it seems the only thing that we can have, going back to a previous comment about poor prior planning by Uma, is the only thing they can plan is how to take our tax money. Because, as you said, they were waiting to talk about pro CPA, Kadeem, and and they want to take over the Duvall corridor. They want control of everything. They want to be the new. They want to be the new Coogan, and his corrupt cabal. They want to put their cabal in power now. So
Right.
So and I think the Recall Coogan campaign, no matter how bad this storm is, it's not on the backs of the people in DCM who are trying their best with what they got. I think the thing you can attack him on is absolutely no prior planning or preparation to any consequence. No. What about warming shelters? What about having a press conference about what the city was going to do for the homeless people at, as Fatima said, they don't care. They're oblivious.
Well,
They're oblivious to the regular people of Fall River.
As I was writing the weekend flush, I was on the phone with several city councilors, and I asked them for an excuse on why we don't have enough plow drivers. None of them had a reason. None of them. Well, we've got 81. That's pretty good. Not when you consider we used to have 200 and something.
Well, that's
81
pretty
is
good.
nothing.
That's called a rationalization.
Right. Now, here's the kicker. I said snow removal can be deficit spend. It's the only thing that we can deficit spend. So pay these plow drivers what they want.
Yeah, and don't charge them insurance so your friends
Paul,
who
they
run
waived the insurance. Paul did away with the insurance.
I know, because you know why? They got caught. And who was giving them the insurance? One of his friends, no doubt.
That's right.
Right? They were buying the insurance through one of their friends. That's one of the oldest political cons in the world. Funnel the business to your friends.
That's right.
I remember when a mayor got in, and he had a guy that was very friendly with him, grew up with him, and was a real, he didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of anything, and he wasn't the brightest bulb in the world. And he opened up a storage facility. Then everybody that came to Fall River mysteriously started using that storage facility. So they were funneling business over. And, James, yeah, you're talking about this, but it seems that all the politicians are dumbbells. Yeah, AOC didn't know that Venezuela was above the equator. I don't even think she knows what the equator is. And Taiwan, forget about it. Her answer on Taiwan was a non-answer. So, she just didn't want to answer the question because she has no idea about anything. She just, that will live in infamy if she ever attempts to run. That will live in infamy because they'll run those things again. Oh, Taiwan. Venezuela. They want to attack people of, just because they live south of the equator and they're of color, they're going to do an attack. Well, they're not south of the equator. We only took the Maduro out of there. My boys took them out. And, but she doesn't know where Venezuela's only been in the national news for the last 10 years with the oil issues and all the other issues. People are not, these people they're useless except for spending our money. Yeah, well, I don't know how she can try to deflect the blame all she wants, Steve, but I mean, what she said is on camera. It's like what we say. There's nothing. Camp and I can go back to the show. You say that we said something, we gotta own it. She's clueless. I mean, the equator thing, Foreign policy, listen, frankly, I don't expect her to know about it, but she didn't have enough wherewithal as a politician to be a politician and say, well, I'm not that deeply involved in national politics at this time. I can make up an answer right here. Just freewheeling it. Well, I'm not that involved in foreign policy. I'm a congressperson, and I'm committed to my district, and I can give you everything that's going on in my district and what the priorities of my district is. And I would have to educate myself on the foreign policy, but I know it's an ongoing problem, and I would make sure that I get the best information, the best people possible. Case closed. Venezuela, no excuse. They haven't moved Venezuela. It's been on the map since it existed, since maps existed. And the best answer I ever saw for AC was somebody that made the best joke around. He said, if she wanted to be right, all they had to do was turn the map upside down. Then it would have been south of the equator. She's a moron, and she lies about everything. She's not from the Bronx. She was born 4 or 5 hours away from the Bronx in a very affluent community, and her parents were wealthy. She's not a bartender from the Bronx. That's the scam. Her voice was gone. Yeah, and they don't have the equipment either, Boomer. I mean, look, you need kind of upstate New York, Minnesota, Wisconsin. CJ knows better. He was there. He lived there. He knows the way, how, they get these kind of snow and constant snow all the time. They are always prepared. But as one of our viewers said, we had the blizzard of 78. We knew this was coming. We didn't have any big water in 78. They've been telling us this. That's just like the comment somebody called me up and said, oh, the superintendents haven't called, or in the area haven't called school off. And I went, why didn't they call off school? Well, they're waiting. They're waiting for what? Oh, they're going to make a decision. Well, then somebody finally, I guess, pinned one of them down. They said, oh, we were waiting to see if it was going to miss us. For 3 days, they were telling us we were going to get hammered. And every single day, we were going to get hammered worse. And as bad as the predictions were, it was worse than the predictions. Now we're looking at, last one I saw is possibly getting up to 38 inches, which is 10 inches more than the 78, which lasted over 2.5 days. And this is like in basically a day and a half.
Just remember, they can deficit spend on snow removal.
No, you're right, but that's the for some reason it's like being it's like being one of the preachers that used to raise all the money and heal the people that couldn't walk and everything else, and she's like she's like one of them, and they adjust their accent to where they're talking. If they're down south, they got a southern accent. If they're in Chicago, they're using Chicago language, and it's like these people are just phonies. Yeah, that's the way they are, because they're all they are. That's why they love the movie stars so much. Besides them giving them money, the movie stars giving them money. They're playing a part all the time. Well, if that's the case, they're even stupider than I thought, Josh, because, you're supposed to prepare. You're not supposed to lie to people to make them more comfortable. You try to get these people, you got to get, you got an obligation to try to protect the citizenry with correct information. You can't try to underestimate anything. There's an adage in the military, and Boomer knows it. We got to, you prepare for you prepare for the worst. Same thing in firefighting. First thing I learned as a firefighter, some of them didn't learn it, but I learned it well, and I learned it from a guy that was a pretty good fire officer, pretty good chief, who said, if you got a fire and you think you need, if you try to choose between an 1.5-inch line and a 2.5, use the 2.5. Always bring more than you need, because if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. But if you don't bring enough, you're screwed. And that's the reality of life in emergency situations. I worked in emergency situations basically my whole life, in the military and on the fire department. You got to bring more than you need. You can always gate that line down. You don't have to put all the water on it, but if you got to have enough. You got to have more. You got to have troops. You got to have whatever. You can't downplay anything. You panic. Well, like CJ said, look what you got. Some people now are worried about what restaurants are open. I didn't do that. I went out and got all the food I needed to last me for 3 or 4 days. I got a portable work light that lights the whole room. I got my laptop 100% charged, so in case I lost power, I could work on my laptop and watch stuff on my laptop for a while. That's what I learned in the military. Be prepared. Boy Scouts, be prepared. Even the Boy Scouts tell you that. Only in Fall River do we have.
James, are you Karnak? Are you practicing Karnak the Magnificent? Because I just had a conversation with the city councilor that I'm projecting that the budget for next year will be at $750 million or more. $750 million with a B or more.
And nothing has changed.
Nothing will get done.
Fall River for the good of the people.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Justin. That's a great way to put it. That's the first time I've ever heard it put that way, but you're right. I mean, you got to have what you need. If you don't have what you need, then you're screwed, especially in emergencies. It's a good way to have your life, run your life, is always, have what you need to do to get it done. But in emergency situations like this, like I say, I got no idea how the homeless are going to survive in this thing. I don't know if there was even one thing done by the.
They did open the first step-in overflow shelter. They did do that. They opened that on, I want to say they opened it on Friday night. And they could go there and stay, be there until like 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they go somewhere else. It's amazing how we have these overflow shelters, which are costing us millions of dollars, but we can't leave them open all day.
Yeah, well, I mean, every time you talk about $750 million,
rack it on at $30 a head, and that's it.
Listen, I didn't hear a damn thing. Where was Paul Coogan on there for 2 days before on We Suck at Radio? No, I don't listen to it, but yeah, put the city in receivership. Mountbatten. He was a famous. One of his ancestors was a famous general in the UK. But yeah, I mean, look at what they're doing to the city is. But who do you blame? The voters. They don't show up. We could have had a different mayor. We could have had some new city councilors. We got one, and so far so good with him. But look at what we got. And now we got a couple now that have just taken the cloak off. No more pretending. We're here for the people of Fall River. Sean Kadeem's and Cliff Ponte has made it very clear they're there for Sean Kadeem and Cliff Ponte.
That's it.
And the power brokers. That's it. They're not here for you. I mean, with their cavalier attitude of, hey, look, what do you want? A town meeting for everything? Yeah, I do. Actually, I wouldn't mind that. But that's bullshit. And you know that. That is just a condescending attempt to diminish the importance of what our Constitution says, that you're answerable to us and you're our fiduciaries and you don't care. And that's the key. They try, they try to just be, cavalier and like, oh, you people don't understand the complexity of government. Well, I know it's not really complex because look at what we got in government. AOC, Jayapal, Priestley, you can go on the line. I can go on forever. I mean, virtually, basically, the entire Democratic wing of Congress. It's not that complex. You know how complex it is? If you walk into a store and you got a dollar bill, you can't spend more than $1. Yeah, I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about it. He's been part of a military organization his whole life. The military is known for planning. We pre-planned every op we ever went on. I got a handbook over there that gives you every single point you got to factor in when you're planning a mission, and that's the way the military is. They know how many trucks they got. They know what to do. But I mean, this is a joke. This city's become a joke. I mean, I look at what this council is doing. All they're doing is figuring out how to spend the money.
Not yet, you can't.
You may never. It's a travesty. More charges. Yeah, the Attorney General lives in Dartmouth, so if you want to pick it, go over there, find her. I'm out now. But yeah, look, it's all a giant game, and the travesty.
It's all the great FU.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you haven't heard, except for one or two councilors, and now they're trying to look. The new Councilor Canul's trying to look to save money. Look to do things. He wanted to know about the efficiency, wants records, and they're busting his chops. All they're talking about is, can we take over the CPA and spend their money? Let's take over the Duval corridor. Well, what's that mean? It means more of our taxpayer money. That's run by the state now. The MBTA has jurisdiction. They were going to give us. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to give you a preview of coming attractions because it's already happened. And if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. The state was going to give us lights and benches. Paul Coogan spent $7 million on lights and benches so we could have better benches and better lights for his friends on the Duval corridor. Why? You don't think we could have used $7 million towards something that would have relieved some of our tax burden? No, of course not. Let's buy fancier lights. It's okay for the MBTA to have state-purchased lights in Newton that has 4 or 5 times the income we do. Their citizens didn't give a shit. And in this ghetto that they've created for us, we spend opera money on making the rich richer and dressing up everything around where they live. And what did we do for the homeless? Nothing. What did we do for affordable housing? Nothing. This is what you got, people.
Well, now remember that money we got for the opioid crisis that was all put in the bank?
Yep.
Yet Paul keeps transferring it for the FAST team. That money was supposed to go for, quote unquote, opioid reduction, opioid treatment, not for homeless intervention. And I understand many of the homeless are on opioids and other drugs. But because they lost their federal money and their state money, they're not going to use that money.
Look, it's a horror show. Scott, welcome, Scott. First time we've seen you post. Yeah, no, you're right. They don't know anything about crisis management. Never did. And as a matter of fact, they're like the antichrist, anti-crisis,
Right.
because they got rid of all our snow removal equipment. They got rid of the trash. Everything costs us money. They have no idea. They're horrible. And they don't give a damn about anybody. No, yeah, but you have to point out everything. They don't know their ass from a post hole. That's the reality. They don't know. You know, and it's incredible.
Scott, not only is that a state law, that is a Supreme Court ruling.
Yep. Yep. And I don't know. Yeah, no. Yeah, look, nobody's going to argue. I think if he runs for mayor at the next go-round, he may get elected again. I don't know. This is looking, you know, he ran the city well. As Sean Kadim, one of the few things I ever agreed with Sean Kadim on was he said that he was a much better mayor than Paul Coogan could ever be. Now all of a sudden he's pals with Paul. He's on the same wavelength as Paul.
Right.
So why do we the only city get National Guard? Because we're probably the only city that
we're not the only city getting that. We're not the only city getting National Guard.
I don't believe we are. But if we were, it would be because we did the least amount of planning of any city in the state. That's probably the best thing to do. We got sit on your thumbs Coogan in his sixth floor doing nothing. Because remember, what his response to do that would be? Well, I'm only a vice principal. What do you expect me to do? No, you've been a mayor for 7 years now. You're in your 7th year. Yeah. Maybe we needed a few snow owls, but look, we're in a lot of trouble. And what's going to happen now? Nothing, because you got the Cabbage Patch Kid. You know, they're going to put Band-Aids on everything, spend all kinds of money, then tax us more. The state. That's why the governor doesn't want to reduce the sales tax or give us a break. She wants to feed. She wants to give illegals everything and give us nothing. And to get back to Scott, look what they did. Look what our state delegation did. They voted against preference for veterans, and 2 of them were veterans at the time.
That was Paul Schmidt and Alan Sylvia.
That's right. And
Alan Sylvia still holds that
but they voted for funding for everything for the illegals.
Yep. And remember, the city council and this fire chief wants to override veterans' preference.
Yep.
Veterans'
preference,
by the
way,
is creating a hybrid list.
Which is based on a Supreme Court decision.
Exactly.
And they can't do that. And if the union was smart, if they ever tried it, they'd hammer.
They would have already done something about it.
Yeah, but they've already said. But supposedly, but look, this. Well, don't get me started on that guy, because he shouldn't even be on a job. He should have been. He was passed over for a promotion that he got later on. He's got to be politically connected, because he ultimately became the chief of the department when he should have been terminated. I know of people who did less than what he did. And because I ran that union for 25 years, and I knew every union president in the state, and I knew them all over the country, basically. For what he did, the normal punishment was that you would be demoted. This is the good one, the good promote. This is the good outcome. You got demoted and you were never allowed to take another promotional exam. You had to stay at that rank for the rest of your career, but you got to keep your job. The other one was you got terminated. So what did he get? He got passed over on that one list, gets promoted again, and then becomes the chief of a department when he did something that showed a total lack of any kind of moral compass or ethics that basically should disqualify anybody from being a leader. And yeah, well, look, what we got now is it's like we're trying to clear the snow with a tablespoon. It's like I've got no idea what this is going to cost. I mean, we're going to be.
Hey, wait! Remember, the amnesiacs are all going to ask FEMA for the money. Oh, wait a minute! They don't have any money. How much you want to make a bet? All of a sudden, they're going to turn around and say, we need money for our state. We need that FEMA money. We got to get on top of it now. The hell with the illegals. We'll fund ICE. We have no choice. So we're going to fund ICE and get our FEMA money. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen.
But you know, the problem
with that
is that's why they're fighting so bad about their audit on the state level, and they never want one on the federal level because $20 million for lights. You know, you could have bought some Christmas lights and hung them up there in a week for about $50, you know, and some volunteers. But who gets the kickbacks? Who buys them? It's just like now. Who sells the insurance that they make you get? Who gets the benefit? What outside entities make the money? That's why they don't like forensic audits and they don't like investigations, because they do not like scrutiny, because they're all as corrupt as you can be. Yeah, because we pale by comparison. We pale by comparison to Minnesota and California. I mean, as bad as ours is, and they probably would get around to us at some point in time. When you look at California and, you know, the train that he spent like $18 billion on is not 1 inch of track laid yet. Nobody knows where the money is. The $24 million for the homeless in San Francisco that nobody knows where it went, and not one homeless person was taken off the streets. I mean, and then you go to Minnesota and Ohio where they're sending millions and millions of dollars back to Somalia to terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab. And they're making millions with learning centers, not learning. They forgot the end. Then after the news posted it, they corrected the spelling, you know. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. That was on daycare centers. Now they're learning. There's billions and billions of dollars in Medicare fraud going on too.
Of course.
I mean, look at this is why they hate Trump. As soon as he said Doge, their heads burst into flames, because once they started looking, it's beyond human comprehension what they've done.
This,
you know, $1 billion
little
for
medical
condoms.
device. This little medical device.
Yeah.
Okay. If paid for with Medicare or Medicaid, costs $4,000 plus. If I pay for it cash from the company, $1,500. You tell me where the fraud is.
Yeah, they stripped the copper from I heard they stripped the copper and everything else out of it.
Yeah, they did. They took everything out of the night owl.
And the electrical wiring and everything else.
They took everything.
I don't like being in Detroit now, because like this city's getting more and more like Detroit, but they're going to give them the money to rebuild it and go out of business, because the night owl's not going to, I'm sorry to say it, but it's not going to survive. The night owl was created when we had 3 shifts working in Fall River in the mills when I was a kid. And people used to go there on their way to work on a second shift, on our way back from the third shift, on our way to the third shift, on our way back from the second shift. The thing was going all the time. People would stop and grab something and go to work, or grab a little something there. And small place, not going to survive on takeout. People have no money, for crying out loud. I mean, this is politicians, and you have to blame the people.
It's historic. We gotta save it because it's historic.
Yeah.
Scroll the historic.
Yeah, come on. What's historic about a chrome, tiny little place with an owl on the top?
That's right. It's not even worth the time.
It's not. Look, if you tell me that the Lizzie Borden house is historic, I'll buy it, because Lizzie Borden is world famous. If you told me one of the textile mills was going to be kept up and used as a museum because of the textile industry, that Fall River was one of the biggest in the country, I'd say, well, that's makes a little sense. But the night owl, how many freaking diners do we have in this country at one time? There were diners everywhere. Now you can't even, I think the only other diner I know
Albeck's, Earnshaw's.
Yeah, just in Fall River.
Just in Fall River.
No, the problem was too much. People didn't want to work up there. They were getting their lives threatened and everything else. They were getting impacts on their business. Look at the richest guy in the world. His stocks dropped, but he can afford he took the hit. But they don't want to do that anymore, because you know why? I don't blame them. You bust your ass to try to save people money, and what do the Democrats do? They threaten your life. They threaten your business. They threaten everything. They call you vile names because you're exposing what corrupt son of a bitches they are. That's exactly what happened. That's why I hate politicians. Hate them. So, because they're all, you have to have your moral compass removed, and that's the reason. I mean, I don't blame them guys. Those guys are all brilliant guys. That Doge thing, they had computer whizzes, they had all kinds of stuff. Guys, captains. These guys are shot. I mean, they can say they got pissed off and called Elon Musk everything, but you can't be that stupid when you're the richest man in the world. I mean.
Well, I want to close on this. In case you haven't noticed, local news organizations have done nothing all day except repeat the same freaking broadcast. Nothing new. Every so often, they'll switch over to a press conference somewhere where nothing new comes out.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, I liked what Boston did. Well, every hour on the hour, they had an update. Yeah. And they kept it short and sweet. Every half hour, they gave a weather forecast update. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Well, okay? The day went on. Providence stations sucked ass. All they did all day was bloat the airwaves with the same snow information. They went back to the same reporters standing in the same snow, up to their knees, talking about, oh, the snow's up to my knees. Oh, the snow's up to my knees. I can't see any cars. Trucks are getting stuck. And then back to the studio.
Well, let me just get this quickly because it's late. It's breaking to show you the difference between what we do, and you never hear anything about Fall River doing anything. This is the one I just got on my phone. Rhode Island Energy president says crews will be working to restore power over the next 72 hours, and it goes on. School closings. Districts are announcing closings for Tuesday, including Providence, Pawtucket, and New Bedford. The only one they mentioned so far is New Bedford. I have to read the rest of the article. But these people are actually, informing the people. We got Paul somewhere wandering around. I don't know where he is, and we don't hear anything. And I don't know. I don't listen to We Suck at radio. Maybe you guys can tell me. Do we suck even more at radio? Are they giving any useful information? Because
Well, I just received from National Grid that severe blizzard conditions affect power restoration today. Okay,
Yep.
for your safety and the safety of our crews, it's our top priority. As we today are, as we respond to today's dangerous blizzard. Heavy snow, wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, near zero visibility, continued hazardous conditions across Massachusetts. These extreme conditions cause widespread outages and are preventing the safe use of bucket trucks and other equipment. Until the weather improves, our crews are limited in what they can safely accomplish. So there you go. That's from National Grid.
Yeah.
The Fall River School, it has closed for tomorrow. So the information is out there. I want to thank you all for watching. Try to stay safe. Keep your vents clear so you don't suffer carbon monoxide poisoning. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.